The millionaire came home unannounced and froze when he saw what the maid was doing with his son. No nanny. Only the cry of a baby echoing through the marble halls of a silent mansion in the heart of New York. A house where everything was perfect, except the people inside it. That morning, Emma Rivera thought it would be like every other. Clean, polish, leave quietly before anyone noticed she'd been there. For 3 years, she'd worked in Ethan Walker's mansion, the home of a tech visionary who had built an empire from nothing, yet couldn't find the time to hold his own son. To Emma, he was a man made of money and absence. She had grown used to being invisible. People saw the spotless rooms, not the woman who made them shine. But that morning, the silence broke. A sharp, desperate cry tore through the stillness, the kind of cry that chills your bones because it comes from pure fear. Emma froze. Her heart kicked hard against her ribs. She dropped the mop and listened. The sound came from upstairs, from Noah's room, Ethan's 18-month-old boy. Without thinking, she ran up the marble staircase, her footsteps echoing through the emptiness. The nursery door was ajar. She pushed it open and stopped dead. Noah was on the floor, cheeks blotched crimson from crying, his tiny hands trembling. His pajamas were soaked, the diaper leaking, the air heavy with the smell of neglect. The crib was tilted, the blankets tangled, and on a small table lay a wrinkled note. "I quit. I'm sorry. Signed, Vanessa." Emma's throat went dry. "Oh my God. What happened to you, sweetheart?" she whispered, bending to scoop him up. The little boy flinched, shivering in her arms. His small fists clung to her shirt, his breath breaking in short, frantic gasps. And in that instant, something long buried came alive inside her. A mother's instinct she hadn't allowed herself to feel since losing her daughter Lily 2 years ago. "Shh. It's okay, baby. I'm here now," she murmured, rocking him gently. Noah's cries slowed. His tiny head rested against her shoulder, warm and damp with tears. She glanced around. The room looked expensive, lifeless, and cold. The bathroom had only a shower, useless for a baby this small. She knew the master suite upstairs had a big bathtub, but it was forbidden territory. Rules meant nothing, though, when a child was suffering. Without hesitation, Emma held Noah close and hurried downstairs to the kitchen. The kitchen gleamed like silver, bright and sterile. She grabbed a large basin, set it in the sink, and turned on the warm water. Steam rose, wrapping her in a faint mist. She tested the water with her elbow, just right. "All right, Noah," she said softly. "Let's get you clean." She undressed him carefully and washed him with slow, tender motions. Every tiny finger, every fold of skin. The warm water made him sigh, then giggle. He splashed the water with both hands, droplets flying like sparks of light. Emma laughed quietly, a sound she hadn't made in months. For a fleeting moment, time stopped. In that cold, polished kitchen, 2 lonely souls, a woman who had lost her child and a child who had lost his comfort, found each other. Emma began to hum a lullaby, the one she used to sing to Lily. Her voice trembled, thin but warm, carrying something gentle that filled the air. Noah's eyes fluttered shut. He leaned into her neck, breathing slow and safe. Emma lowered her head and pressed a kiss to his damp hair. In that moment, she understood. Some bonds don't need blood or names. All they need is a heart still capable of love. The kitchen still smelled faintly of soap and warm water. Steam lingered in the air as Emma Rivera stood quietly, holding Noah close against her chest. His tiny heartbeat pulsed softly against her skin. The midday light filtered through the tall glass window, wrapping them both in a tender golden hue. For a fleeting moment, Emma smiled. The kind of smile that hadn't touched her face in years. She didn't know that, just beyond the front door, Ethan Walker had come home early. His trip to Washington had been cut short when a meeting got canceled. He could have gone to the office, but for some reason, he drove straight home. Maybe it was exhaustion, or maybe it was that quiet ache he couldn't name. The thought of his son, the little boy he barely knew. The front door clicked open, echoing through the still house. Ethan frowned. The mansion was quiet, too quiet, except for the faint sound of running water. He followed the sound, and then he saw it. The scene stopped him cold. There, by the kitchen sink, stood the cleaner, the quiet girl with the tied-up hair he barely remembered hiring. She was holding his son, Noah, in her arms, standing over the sink filled with warm water. The baby was laughing, tiny hands splashing in the basin, sunlight flickering across the droplets like gold. For a brief second, Ethan forgot to breathe. The image was beautiful, disarming, but then his rational mind kicked in. What the hell's going on here? His voice sliced through the air. Emma flinched, her body freezing mid-motion. She turned around slowly, clutching Noah closer to her chest. "Mr. Walker, I'm sorry, but..." "What do you think you're doing?" he snapped, stepping closer, anger edging his voice. "You have no right to touch my son." Noah startled, then pressed himself against Emma's shoulder. His little fingers dug into her shirt. He didn't cry, just stared at the tall man with wide, wary eyes. Emma swallowed hard. "Please, sir, don't raise your voice. He's been crying for hours. The nanny, Vanessa, she's gone. She left a note. No one else was here." Ethan blinked. "Gone?" She nodded. "He was filthy, soaked, hungry. I couldn't just leave him like that." Her voice trembled, but her eyes didn't. They held his gaze, tired, wet, but unwavering. Something about that honesty disarmed him. Ethan looked at Noah again. The boy wasn't crying. For the first time in weeks, he wasn't crying. Instead, he clung to Emma, small fingers tangled in her hair. Something inside Ethan twisted. Surprise, envy, and guilt all tangled into one sharp ache. His own son felt safe with a stranger, but flinched at his voice. "I wasn't trying to overstep," Emma whispered, "but I couldn't just let him suffer." The words hung in the air, soft, simple, and devastating. Ethan's shoulders tensed. The steam in the room began to fade, leaving only a strange stillness between them. A man in an expensive suit, a woman in a faded uniform, and a child, clean, warm, smiling. For a moment, Ethan didn't know what to say. His instinct screamed for control, for authority, for distance. But something in Noah's gaze, the quiet trust in his son's eyes, stripped away every rule he thought mattered. "When you're done," he said finally, voice lower now, almost hoarse. "Get him dressed. We'll talk later." Emma nodded gently. "Yes, sir." Ethan turned toward the door, but hesitated. His hand rested on the frame as he glanced back one last time. Noah giggled, a soft, pure sound, and Emma smiled down at him, brushing a wet curl from his forehead. The sight burned into Ethan's mind. In that instant, the man who thought he could control everything realized there was one thing he'd never truly had: his own child's love. Ethan was still standing at the doorway, eyes fixed on the quiet scene before him. His son was giggling softly in Emma's arms, tiny palms patting at the water that still shimmered in the basin. That smile, so simple, so innocent, tugged at something deep in him. He couldn't remember the last time Noah had smiled. The click of heels echoed down the hall. Mrs. Harper, the longtime housekeeper, appeared in the kitchen doorway. Perfectly pressed uniform, hair in a tight bun, eyes sharp as glass. The moment she saw the scene, she froze, then quickly masked her surprise with a polite smile. "Oh, Mr. Walker, you're home early. I was just about to tidy up the kitchen." Her voice wavered slightly, though she tried to sound calm. Her eyes darted toward Emma, heavy with silent disapproval. Ethan crossed his arms. His voice was rough. "Did you know Vanessa quit?" Mrs. Harper's brows lifted in feigned shock. "Quit? I wasn't aware. I thought she was taking a short leave." Emma's arms tightened around Noah. She knew that was a lie. "That's odd," Ethan said, his gaze sharpening. "Because Emma found a note. She found my son alone, filthy, hungry, crying." Mrs. Harper stepped forward, tone rising. "Sir, there must be some misunderstanding. Emma tends to overstep. I've warned her before about getting too involved in the child's care." Emma looked up, meeting Harper's eyes squarely. "With respect, ma'am, I didn't overstep. I helped a child who needed it." "Helped?" Harper's laugh was cold. "You're a cleaner, not a nanny or a doctor. You've crossed a line, Emma." Ethan remained silent, watching them. The tension in the room crackled like static. Noah shifted slightly, his brow furrowing, but the moment Emma rubbed his back, he relaxed again. That small, wordless moment hit Ethan like a punch, and even Harper faltered for a second. "You see?" Harper pressed on quickly. "He's too spoiled. That's why he cries all the time. I told Vanessa to be firmer with him." Emma's voice was low, steady, trembling with conviction. "Firm doesn't mean neglect. Noah doesn't need discipline. He needs love." Harper's tone sharpened. "And you think you know better than us? Than his own father?" Ethan closed his eyes for a moment, trying to steady the storm inside him. But in his mind, the puzzle pieces began to align. Vanessa's sudden resignation, Noah's constant distress, Harper's convenient ignorance. And Emma, the invisible woman, was the only one who had done something right. "Mrs. Harper," he said slowly, "you claimed you didn't know Vanessa left. But you texted me this morning that everything was fine. If she was already gone, how could you be so sure?" Harper stiffened, her polite smile fading. "Sir, I must have assumed. Do you make assumptions when it comes to my son?" Ethan cut her off. The air in the kitchen turned thick. Noah gave a small sneeze, then buried his face into Emma's neck, calm as ever, untouched by the storm brewing around him. Emma looked down at him, whispering, "It's okay, sweetheart. Everything's fine." Her voice was soft, yet it filled the room like a quiet truth. Harper inhaled sharply, took a step back, lips pressed tight. Ethan exhaled, the tension in his shoulders easing. "I think we've heard enough for today," he said calmly. "We'll be reevaluating how this house is managed." Harper's face flushed. She bowed slightly, muttered something under her breath, and left the kitchen, not before casting one last uneasy glance at Emma. When the door closed, only three remained: Ethan, Emma, and Noah. Ethan looked at her, voice quieter now. "Thank you, Emma." She lifted her head slightly, her brown eyes shimmering. "I just did what anyone should do, sir." Noah stirred, then murmured a small sound that could have been "Ma." Both adults froze. In that still, fragile moment, Ethan realized some lines were never meant to hold. Because what lay beyond them wasn't disobedience, it was love. When the door closed behind Mrs. Harper, the kitchen grew quiet, softer, heavier. Ethan stood still, watching Emma. She sat by the dining table, Noah fast asleep in her arms. The boy's tiny hands clutched the fabric of her shirt, as if afraid the warmth might vanish if he let go. Emma adjusted the thin blanket over him. Her movements were gentle, slow, filled with a peace that made something inside Ethan settle too. He stepped closer, voice rough. "Emma, do you have kids?" The question slipped out before he could stop it. He didn't even know why he asked. Maybe it was the way she held Noah. That same tenderness he once saw in his wife's eyes, the kind that comes with fear of losing what you love most. Emma looked up. Her eyes flickered with surprise before she nodded faintly. "Yes," she whispered. "Or, I did. A little girl." Ethan's throat tightened. "Where is she now?" There was a long silence. Emma's fingers brushed through Noah's hair, searching for courage. "Her name is Lily," she said, voice trembling. "She's 5 now, I think. I haven't seen her since she was 3. The room went utterly still. "I used to go to college," Emma continued, her lips curving into a sad smile. "Early childhood education. I wanted to teach, but then I got pregnant. Her father left when I refused to get rid of the baby. I worked every job I could. Waitressing, cleaning, babysitting. But rent, medicine, formula, it all piled up. One night Lily got sick. Fever. I didn't have the money for a hospital, so I just held her and prayed." Her voice broke. "The next day, social services came. My neighbor called them. They said I wasn't fit to raise her. I begged them not to take her. I promised I'd work harder, anything. But they took her anyway, said it was for her own good. I still remember her screaming, 'Mommy, I don't want to go.'" Tears slipped down her cheeks, quiet, unstoppable. Ethan didn't move. His hands clenched at his sides, jaw tight. He wanted to speak but couldn't, afraid one wrong word would shatter her completely. Emma took a shaky breath and tried to smile. They weren't cruel. The family that adopted her lives outside the city, they're good people. Every month I get a letter, sometimes a photo. She's smiling, healthy. I'm grateful. But, her voice faltered, grateful isn't the same as whole. Noah stirred softly in his sleep. Emma rested her hand on his back, whispering, "Sometimes I wonder if Lily still remembers me, if she remembers the song I used to sing when she fell asleep." Ethan pulled out a chair and sat down across from her. His chest ached with something heavy, guilt, empathy, recognition. "Emma," he said quietly, "I'm sorry." She shook her head. "You don't have to be, sir. Life doesn't always give us a choice." "No," he said, firmer. "I mean it. I'm sorry because I understand." Her eyes lifted, confused. "My wife died giving birth to Noah," Ethan confessed. His voice was calm, but his eyes were distant. "I loved her, but after she was gone, I couldn't look at him without thinking of losing her. So I threw myself into work. I thought I was providing, but really I was hiding." The words fell quietly, but carried the weight of years unsaid. Emma didn't speak. The light from the window framed them both, her tear-streaked face, his tired one. Between them, silence grew. Not the kind that separates, but the kind that understands. Noah shifted in his sleep, his small sigh filling the air. They both looked at him. This little boy who somehow stood at the center of both their broken stories. Ethan spoke again, barely above a whisper. "Maybe there's a reason I came home early today." Emma looked up, her eyes still wet but softer now, touched by something fragile, hope, maybe. And in that quiet afternoon, surrounded by warmth and loss, two strangers realized that sometimes pain isn't just a wound. It's a mirror, one that reflects not only what you've lost, but the gentlest parts of who you still are. A gentle breeze drifted through the window, tugging lightly at the thin white curtains. Late afternoon sunlight poured into the kitchen, painting everything in soft gold. Noah slept in Emma's arms, his cheek resting against her chest, his small breaths warm and even. Ethan sat across from them, silent, afraid that even a whisper might shatter the fragile peace around them. Emma stroked the baby's hair. Her voice was low, almost a whisper. "I keep wondering, if Lily were still with me, would she smile like this?" Ethan watched her, his gaze softening. "I think she must have once, the way Noah does now." Emma smiled faintly, sadness glimmering in her eyes. "I just hope I did something right, even if it's too late to fix anything." The room fell still for a moment. Then Noah stirred, lips parting slightly. Both of them leaned in instinctively. And then, clear as a bell in the quiet air, came a small sound. Soft, halting, but unmistakable. Ma! Emma froze. Her eyes widened. Ethan stopped breathing. "What? What did you just say, sweetheart?" she whispered. Noah blinked, grinned, and reached up to touch her cheek. Once more, louder this time, joyful. Ma. Ethan inhaled sharply, his chest tightening. He's never said that before, he murmured, voice trembling. Emma felt tears prick at her eyes. She looked down at the little boy, saw in him the ghost of her Lily, and the love she thought she'd lost forever. She didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Instead, she held Noah closer and whispered, "Good job, baby. You're so wonderful." Ethan's throat ached. Watching them, he felt something inside him give way. Not anger, not jealousy, just gratitude. For the first time in so long, his son looked happy. Not distracted or managed or pacified. Truly, deeply happy. The kitchen door creaked softly. Mrs. Harper stood there, silent. Her expression tightened as she took in the sight. Noah in Emma's arms, smiling, calling her Mama. A flicker of jealousy and discomfort crossed her face before she turned away, closing the door quietly behind her. Neither Emma nor Ethan noticed. He sat there still, voice barely above a whisper. "Thank you for giving my son something I never could." Emma looked up, her eyes bright with tears. "No, Mr. Walker. It's Noah who gave me something I thought I'd lost." The sunlight lingered, warm and forgiving, and in that golden quiet, a baby's first word tied two broken hearts together. Not by duty, not by blood, but by love. The late afternoon light poured softly through the window, spilling gold across the kitchen. The scent of milk and soap lingered in the air. Noah was asleep in Emma's arms, his tiny breaths calm and steady. Ethan sat across from her, hands clasped, his eyes heavy, not with anger, but regret. For the first time, he truly saw his house, the spotless walls, the cold silence, the perfection that felt like absence. He realized he had built order, not a home. "Emma," he said quietly, "can you stay a little longer?" "Of course, sir." "Call me Ethan," he murmured. "I need to know what's really happening here." She nodded. "I'll stay." He turned toward the hallway. "Mrs. Harper." The sharp rhythm of heels echoed closer until she appeared, polished and composed. "You called for me, Mr. Walker?" "Yes," Ethan said evenly. "I have a few questions." She smiled faintly. "Of course. Why does Noah's food keep running out? And why do nannies keep quitting?" Her brows lifted. Just bad luck, sir. I maintain strict order. Some people simply can't handle that. Strict order? Ethan's tone sharpened. My son was left hungry and alone. If that's your version of order, then you've built a prison, not a home. Mrs. Harper stiffened. Sir, I only do my job. The nannies were too emotional. They cried. They broke rules. They refused to be firm. Children need discipline, not indulgence. Emma's voice broke the silence, soft but steady. Maybe they didn't leave because they were weak. Maybe they left because they weren't treated like people. Harper turned sharply. Excuse me? Emma met her gaze without fear. Children don't need perfection, Mrs. Harper. They need presence. The words fell like a quiet storm. Ethan said nothing for a long moment. Images replayed in his head. Noah's cries at night, the silence he'd buried himself in, the way he'd mistaken distance for discipline. He felt his chest tighten with guilt. Mrs. Harper's voice trembled. I thought, if I kept everything perfect, you'd be pleased. Ethan shook his head slowly. Perfection means nothing if there's no warmth. My son doesn't need control. He needs love. Harper hesitated, her mask cracking. She lowered her gaze and slipped away without another word. The kitchen fell silent again. Ethan turned to Emma. Teach me, he said quietly. She blinked. Teach you what? How to be a father. Emma smiled faintly. You don't need lessons. You just need to be here. He exhaled. Then, show me where to start. Start with dinner, she said, and smiled. They cooked together, awkwardly, clumsily. Ethan spilled milk, burned toast, and nearly dropped a spoon into the sink. Emma laughed softly, the sound light and contagious. When Noah woke, rubbing his eyes, he giggled at the sight of his father's messy shirt. Ethan laughed too, a real, unguarded laugh that surprised even himself. After dinner, Emma handed him a picture book. Try reading to him. Ethan hesitated, his voice rough and uncertain at first. But as Noah leaned against him, his tiny fingers clutching Ethan's sleeve, something inside the man softened. His voice grew gentler. The story flowed. Emma stood by the doorway, her vision blurring with tears. The scene before her, a father reading to his child, was both beautiful and painful. It reminded her of Lily, of nights spent singing lullabies in a tiny apartment. The ache was still there, but it no longer tore her apart. It felt like healing. Ethan looked up, met her eyes. Thank you, he whispered. She smiled, voice trembling. You don't need to thank me, just love him, Ethan. That's enough. Outside, the evening light faded into blue. Inside, for the first time in years, the house was not silent. A father learning to love, a mother learning to forgive, and a child. The bridge between two hearts that had once been broken, now finding their way home. Evening settled gently over the house. The kitchen lights glowed warm against the dark, the scent of milk and porridge lingering in the air. Noah slept soundly in the crib Emma had covered with a soft blanket. The golden light touched his face, softening every edge of the room. Ethan stood by the doorway, hands in his pockets, watching Emma as she folded towels with quiet care. The way her gaze lingered on the child, protective, almost sacred, stirred something deep inside him. Emma, he said softly. She turned, startled. Yes, sir? He took a few steps closer, voice steady but low. I want you to stay. Not as a cleaner, as Noah's caregiver. Emma froze. I'm sorry? I don't understand. You do, Ethan said gently. I see how he looks at you, how he laughs with you. I can't remember the last time I saw my son that happy. You make him feel safe, loved, and I think you're what he needs." Her voice trembled. "But I'm not qualified. I'm not trained. I'm just—" "No," Ethan interrupted. "You're not just anything. You're the only one who made him feel loved." Emma shook her head, tears brimming. "You don't understand, Ethan. I lost a child. I failed my own daughter. I can't let that happen again." Her voice cracked, raw and honest. Ethan stepped closer, his eyes soft. "You didn't fail, Emma. You were forced to let go. You loved her. Anyone can see that. And if you could love that deeply once, then you deserve another chance." Tears slipped down her cheeks. Ethan reached into his pocket and pulled out an envelope. "I know you studied education. I want to help you go back. I'll cover the tuition, give you flexible hours so you can stay with Noah, and of course, I'll pay you properly." Emma looked up, startled. "Ethan, I can't accept that. This isn't pity," he said firmly. "It's purpose. I need you. We need you. And if you agree, you won't just work here. You'll be part of this family." The words hung between them, trembling in the still air. Emma turned to Noah. The little boy stirred, his lips moving in sleep. She brushed his cheek with her fingers. "I'm afraid," she whispered. "What if I'm not enough for him?" Ethan's reply came instantly, soft but certain. "None of us are ever enough, but we can try. Together." Something in her broke open. She looked at him for a long moment, then nodded, tears spilling freely. Suddenly, Noah blinked awake. His small eyes sparkled under the lamplight. He saw Emma, smiled wide, and in a sleepy little voice said, "Ma, Ma." Then again clearer this time, "Ma, Ma, Emma." The room fell silent. Emma covered her mouth, trembling. Ethan froze where he stood, his throat tightening. "He's never said that before," he whispered. Emma gathered the child into her arms, pressing her face against his hair. Noah giggled, wrapping his tiny arms around her neck, and her tears fell. Tears of loss and joy all at once. Ethan watched, his heart full to breaking. He stepped closer, resting a hand gently on her shoulder. "Thank you," he said quietly, "for giving my son laughter again, and for giving it back to me." Emma looked up, smiling through tears. "Thank you for believing in me." Chutawa outside, the night wind rustled softly through the trees. Inside that small golden kitchen, 3 souls, a father, a mother, and a child, found what they had each been missing all along: a home. The kitchen still carried the warmth of the night before, the moment Noah whispered, "Mama, Emma," freezing time itself. Ethan's hand still rested on her shoulder, both of them wordless, surrounded by a silence that was anything but empty. Outside, the night had settled softly, and the moonlight spilled through the window, touching the room that no longer felt cold. By morning, sunlight streamed through the curtains, flooding the house with gold. Emma stood by the counter, stirring milk while Noah giggled in his high chair, clapping every time she made the spoon tap the table. Ethan stood beside her, awkwardly holding the kettle, grinning every time his son laughed. For the first time in years, the mansion sounded alive. Then the back door creaked. Mrs. Harper appeared. Not the rigid, composed woman of before, but someone smaller, gentler, unsure. She lingered at the doorway until Emma turned. Their eyes met. Harper took a trembling breath. "I came to apologize." Ethan turned toward her, saying nothing. She stepped closer, hands twisting together. "I was wrong. I thought rules and control were what kept things safe. But I see now I only made this house colder. I made him lonelier." Emma's smile was kind, without judgment. "None of us are perfect, Mrs. Harper. I've made mistakes too, and lost things I'll never get back." The older woman's eyes softened. "If you'd let me, I want to learn. From you. How to care, not just to manage." Ethan's gaze moved between them. Two women standing on opposite sides of experience, yet both brave enough to begin again. "If anyone can teach," he said quietly, "it's Emma." That morning, the kitchen felt like something entirely new. Emma showed Harper how to warm milk properly, how to tell which cries meant hunger or fear. Harper fumbled, spilled milk, then laughed, really laughed, and Noah squealed in delight, clapping his little hands. Ethan watched, smiling softly, his eyes lingering on Emma longer than before. It wasn't the look of a boss. It was something deeper, quieter, something beginning. By noon, they were all preparing lunch together. Emma chopped vegetables, Ethan stirred soup, Harper set the table, and Noah sat in his high chair, supervising like a tiny king. The sounds of clinking spoons, sizzling butter, and shared laughter filled the space once ruled by silence. When Ethan placed the bowl of soup down, he exhaled. "I never knew cooking could feel this good." Emma chuckled. "That's because you've never done it with someone before." Her words hung in the air, gentle but charged. Their eyes met, and for a brief moment, the world narrowed to just that glance. Noah's laughter broke the spell. Ethan leaned down to kiss his son's forehead, and Emma watched, her heart swelling with something she couldn't quite name. Joy, hope, maybe love, quietly blooming where once there was only loss. The afternoon light poured over them, soft and golden, and for the first time, the mansion didn't feel empty. It felt like home, because love had finally found its way back inside. The last sunset of spring poured through the wide kitchen window, golden light spilling over everything it touched. The scent of chicken soup and toasted bread filled the air, mingling with Noah's bright laughter as it echoed off walls that had once known only silence. Ethan sat by the table, sleeves rolled up, stirring the pot while Emma watched from across the counter, her smile soft beneath the amber light. Nearly 3 months had passed since she chose to stay, not as a cleaner, but as Noah's caregiver, and perhaps the heartbeat that brought warmth back to this house. Mrs. Harper was still there too, though she was no longer the same. The sharpness in her eyes had faded, replaced by something gentler. She no longer barked orders, no longer hid behind her clipboard. Now she played peekaboo with Noah in the mornings, even laughed when he tugged her hair. The mansion, once sterile and cold, had learned how to breathe again. And at the center of it all stood Emma, a woman who arrived with nothing but a heart that still knew how to love. Ethan couldn't remember the last time he'd smiled this much. He no longer worked until midnight or ate alone in front of his laptop. Every evening, he hurried home to the sound of Noah's tiny voice calling Papa and Mama Emma, to the sight of the two of them waiting in the golden kitchen that now felt alive. That night, after Noah had fallen asleep, Emma quietly washed the dishes. Ethan leaned against the doorway, watching her. There was a softness in his gaze, one that words couldn't carry. He stepped forward, his voice low. "Emma, I never thought this house could feel this peaceful." She smiled faintly without looking up. "It's not the house, Ethan. It's the people in it." He was silent for a moment, then murmured, "Sometimes I wonder, if you hadn't heard Noah crying that day, would I have ever realized what I was missing?" Emma turned, meeting his eyes. You would have realized it eventually. It just might have taken longer. Ethan moved closer, the light catching the lines on his face, the quiet tenderness in his eyes. I don't know if I deserve all of this, but what I do know is that you changed everything. Her voice trembled. You give me too much credit, Ethan. I only did what anyone with a heart would do. He smiled slightly, taking another step. No, Emma. You didn't just have a heart. You had courage. You made me want to be a better father, and maybe a better man. The words hung in the air, fragile and full. She looked at him, and for the first time, she couldn't tell where gratitude ended and something deeper began. They stood close enough to feel each other's breath. The clock ticked softly. Somewhere, the night wind stirred the curtains. Ethan reached out, his fingers brushing hers. "Thank you for staying," he whispered, his voice steady and warm. Emma's eyes glistened. "Thank you for giving me a home." Outside, the spring breeze carried the scent of jasmine from the garden. Inside, they stood quietly, not needing more words. Their eyes said what hearts had already known, that two broken souls had found each other, not to fill their emptiness, but to build something new. Upstairs, Noah stirred in his sleep, a small smile on his lips, as if he somehow knew that when morning came, everyone he loved would still be there. And in the mansion that was once cold and hollow, there was laughter, warmth, and love, simple, real, and finally whole. No one was alone anymore.